Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. It is I, Curtis Selby, your tired midnight vlogger. What vlogs in this case at 6 p.m. sharp. Today's topic is the bully pulpit. I know I've already discussed how Kamala has called Trump Hitler. We're going to discuss the topic of, are either of these people bullies? And if so, which one? I'd love everybody's commentary because I know we almost certainly all have at least a slightly different take, even though there's only two choices here. I will say hello to everyone in the chat.
This is the best chat that there is on the internet. There's never been such a chat like this. It is just incredible. It's just not even Joe Rogan has chat like I do.
Okay, maybe I exaggerate, but I do have wonderful people, starting with John Pontanero. Thank you very much for your support, your prayers, your brotherly love, and helping me talk through a decision. You may be interested to know I got a positive email back, and so likely we'll be making a definitive and likely positive decision tomorrow. Not to be cryptic. Matt Cheatwood, thank you very much for your support. Thank you for sharing the video about the two different sci-fi federations. I almost thought about trying, well, I did try to think of a way to link that in with this discussion. And you know, I should have put that into the poll. That should have been a fifth option. Would you like me to talk about the two different kinds of federations? Yeah, everybody sending hello, asking each other how they're doing. It is wunderbar. Please, when this stream is done, I'm going to desperately try to be done by 7:20 anyway. The last episode of Twin Peaks is going to be on Sparkwood and 21. I've left the link. I believe this is to Troy Pacelli's channel, because as you know, they simulcast it between Troy Netter, Aged Boomer, and Deleted Scenes. I've left the spiffy poll up there. Please feel free to let me know what you would like me to talk about. Whether it's more election coverage, a chill stream that I make up as I go, and if it's a chill stream, I will almost certainly talk about the video that Matt Cheatwood shared with me. Right now, it's tied. 33% want more election coverage. 33% want me to talk about economics, which I've been wanting to do for a minute. And the rest say either a chill stream or more about Fauci and COVID. I'll end that poll before ending the stream, let y'all know what's going to be. And greetings, Fluff Chick Productions, the faithful bird woman of YouTube, Connie Cleary. Poor lady's trying to help me out with Cosme. Keep your prayers up for her. She's going to need it to get this tired old man to understand half the things she's saying. Oh, Matt Cheatwood, yeah, I wish I knew how to set it up so that you could vote for more than one friend. I've decided to do it that way because half the time I can't make up my own mind. And it helps me to figure out what I'm trying to plan. Quite possible for both of them to be bullies. Yeah, that is absolutely a possibility. And on my community page, I have that. Trump, Kamala, both, or neither. All right. Thank you very much. Yes, congratulations. I'm hoping I'm not speaking too quickly. It's one of the reasons why I'm not being more definitive about what I'm talking about. I don't want to jinx it. All right, let's end the rock music, even though I'm having fun with it. Today's topic being the bully pulpit. But before we get into that and my lovely narcissism, I'm going to share some channel news. So we are plugging away at our views. I have topped 40,024 views, a little bit over 1,700 actual watch hours. So please continue to watch, but maybe don't do the spam thing. I appreciate it, but I think YouTube has figured out that I have friends doing that. So maybe just pick a thing or two and leave it on the background for a bit, or maybe just leave it on at night, or But the 24/7, I think, has made YouTube upset. And I noticed that one of my friends backed down to just watching it overnight, and now the hours are starting to climb again. So, and the most viewed thing I have, it's one of the reasons why I wanted to put economics on there. Capitalism versus socialism is up to 6,000 or 7,600 views. So it is easily the second most viewed thing I've ever put out on any social media thing. And personally, I think it's one of the best things that I've put out. The stream about Ren was number 2. I think now it's the one about Tulsi Gabbard with a mere 193 views. So it jumps quite a bit from number 1 to number 2. So boring statistics for people. All right, I would love for me to talk about how the Star Trek and Starship Troopers federations are essentially the same. My Tuesday streams are longer. I may just try to put that at the tail end. Yes, I know you're trying. I know you're trying, Connie Cleary. You're a wonderful human being. Okay, so I've shared some of my success. Let's dive in. I think the reason I decided to put it this way is because of the speech that Dr. Phil gave at Madison Square Garden. Now, as you know, the Trump rally has been compared to how deep into the stream are we? It's been compared to a Nazi rally. When you search it on Yahoo, anyway, you get, shall we say, less than positive things, but you don't really get much about Nazism like you did in the days before. I should have done my search in the days before when lots of people were popping up with, "Oh, it's just like a Nazi rally." We will talk more about that later. They make sure to point out that there's racist and crude comments. I don't want to poo-poo those things, but I just think it's interesting that that's what we're going to focus on. We have to make sure to fact check him. We're not going to fact check the other side, but we have to make sure to fact check him. And yeah, there it is. So what I really want to focus on at first, though, is what Dr. Phil says while he's at the Madison Square Garden. So just remember, Dr. Phil is a Nazi. Yes, you heard it here first. And I had thought, okay, let's jump ahead a little bit.
I do. I love this country. I stand up when our flag goes by. I put my hand over my heart when they play our national anthem. And I'm so proud to see so many people take time out of their day to come out here and stand up for this country. And strangely enough, I'm not here just to stand up for Donald J. Trump. Lord knows he doesn't need me to stand up for him. He's tough as an old army boot. He's got lots of enemies, different groups that are scared, and between them, they have impeached him, indicted him, raided him, railroaded him, shot him, and sued him.
All right, so Dr. Phil has just come out. He is officially a Trump supporter. What do you guys think about that? I think a lot of you will agree with that, but hopefully, if you don't, please feel free to respectfully let me know if you line up with that. Is Dr. Phil just a suddenly crazy racist, or do the things that he says make sense? And if Trump doesn't need him to stand up for him, I would ask the question, why then is he coming out to speak about Trump?
And where is he? He is still standing. He just...
Yeah, I know. I have a clip somewhere. I may play it today where, what is her name? The wonderful lady from The View. She's saying Trump would never go away. He was like a fly. He was like a bug. So, John, I thought he was a Trump supporter all along. I kind of thought so too, although I really didn't until Dr. Phil was on The View. I didn't know that. I feel like he kept it fairly neutral up until then. And yeah, he's just basically come out. So Matt Chewood finds both hilarious and frightening when people make accusations like that. A cursory perusal of their comments immediately reveals they don't know what fascism is, let alone Nazism, and I would concur with that.
This keeps on coming because he loves this country too. I can be honest and say, I can be honest because we have free speech in America. I can be honest and say I don't like or agree everything that Donald J. Trump does or says.
While I love Dr. Phil, he is not a great oratician, but I still wanted to share this. So,
I mean, come on. Nobody agrees with everything or likes everything somebody else says or does, right? No human is perfect. We don't strive for perfection. We strive for excellence. But you don't have to love everything about someone in order to love them. And the last thing he needs is some celebrity endorsement. What the hell do I know? I know I'm no celebrity to begin with. And celebrities don't know anything about policies or politics. So,
don't you wish more of them would be saying that? I think it would bother me less that so many come out for Kamala if more of them would just be humble and say, look, I really don't know jack or squat about politics, but I happen to support Kamala. But they don't do that. They're the experts. They're the intelligent ones. We are the unwashed, uncivilized, stupid masses. We should vote the way they tell us to. Matt Chewood's going to see if we can find a clip of Trump on The View when they still loved him before he had a chance at actually winning. Yeah, please feel free. And Connie's going to agree to disagree. That's okay. That's absolutely okay. Let's just say that Trump has not always been his own best friend. He has definitely said and done some things. If I really wanted to, I could dive into some stuff, you know, but because I'm no longer centrist, I'm not going to do that. But do your own research. If you feel that Trump is a fascist, do your research and share with me in the chat where you found some information.
Only difference between me and them is I'm willing to admit it. So, why am I here? Well, I'll tell you why I'm here. I'm here to talk to and stand up for the people who have declared their support for Donald J. Trump, or they got found out, or they want to do it, but they're too intimidated.
All right, here's the point. Here's the punchline. Does Donald Trump need people standing up for him? I would argue no. If he's not big enough to stand up for himself, he doesn't need to be president. The same goes for Kamala, however. If you have to have somebody basically strong arm Trump into not hardly saying anything, possibly you're not strong enough to be president either. It's just a thought. But the people who do need stood up for, in my humble opinion, I know I will have friends who will totally disagree with this, but the person that has voted for Trump, the person that has been told all kinds of insults, that he's you're a vaccine denier, you're a January 6th denier, you're just not an intelligent person, you're not an informed person, you're not a person that is using various sources of material. You're just not all that in a bag of chips. We are the people who need somebody to frickin' stand up for us and say, hey, by the way, these are good people. By the way, these actually are intelligent people. By the way, yeah, they might use different sources than you do, but they actually do have some good sources here and there. Matt has found the link. Let me see if I'm bright enough to get that to pop up. Let me see. I am live right now. So we will open it in a new tab. There it is, Bully Pulpit. Okay. Okay. We will watch it momentarily. Let's go ahead and let Dr. Phil, who, yeah, Connie, I mean, that's one of the things I do like about Dr. Phil. I didn't always like his show, but I always felt like he was honest, and in these times, that's a hell of a lot. Hail, Tim! Greetings. I hope you are well, and I hope that you get some information and or entertainment out of this post of the Bully Pulpit.
Because you know what happens when somebody in this country says, hey, I'm going to vote Republican, I'm going to vote Donald J. Trump? They get canceled, intimidated, marginalized, excluded, or even fired or boycotted.
Okay, now to my friend, I want to be respectful here, but to my friend who has told me that he believes that the right censors more than the left, what do you say to respond to that? Because I'm going to tell you, it is not just anecdotal truth. I've kept most of my conservative friends. Frankly, they've stood by me at least as well, if not better, than the liberal friends. I know the stories that they tell me. I know the people who have had to give up their career. Now, granted, I know what you're thinking likely. Well, they deserve it because they hold that view. Can you hear yourself? Can you hear that thought? Can you hear how that sounds to us? Possibly not. It is Tim, sometimes known as Tim. And Connie is agreeing with this case. Yeah, but whether we agree about Trump or not, and don't get me wrong, I know that there's leftists who get bullied too. I know that happens. And I know that happens here in Oklahoma. So I don't want to make this a paint with too broad of a brush thing. But this is where I have found myself at. Who is the side? And I know I can hear my friend now. I'm a Reagan Republican. That's great, but you chose this side. You've chosen it. And which of these sides is the one that is doing the more silencing? Which one is doing the more censoring? Please be objective when you ask that question and look at it.
And you know what that means? In short, that adds up to being bullied. And now we're talking about something I know a hell of a lot about.
All right. In case any of you don't know much about the history of Dr. Phil, he grew up in an abusive family. His father was an alcoholic. He knows what it's like to be homeless. I know a lot of you probably don't know that. He knows what it's like to have people try to bully you. He knows what other people go through as bullies. He's been a psychologist. He's had to help people who've had problems with bullying. And the very thing that made him famous, Oprah, he basically helped her stand up to bullies in a courtroom and helped make sure that she didn't lose her fortune and she didn't lose her reputation. This is how he became famous. This is why she gave him a chance and he got a show. Absolutely. Bullies are his wheelhouse. So if you want to doubt that, please look him up or read one of his books.
Now you're in my wheelhouse, buddy. I may not be an expert in politics, but I am an expert about bullying. And bullying is when you seek to harm somebody, you seek to intimidate, coerce, cause distress, fear, risk to their well-being. And it can be physical, verbal, relational, or cyberbullying. And it's always wrong. You said it, my friend. It is always wrong when you bully somebody. And that's what's going on. Now, let me tell you what the critics are going to say when they hear me talking about this. They're going to say, well, now, wait a minute. Come on. Isn't Trump a bully?
All right. That's the question. That's the $1 million question right there. You're accusing the left of all this bullying, and maybe you have a point, but come on. I mean, we all know, right? I mean, we all know that Trump is a bully. We've been told that for at least 8 years. And that's what we're going to talk about right now. Or in a little bit. Hello, Lady Mist. Thank you so much for showing up and for your lovely emojis. Love that you're here. Thank you so much. Matt Cheatwood, who was it who was trying to censor records in the 80s and 90s? Oh, right. Tipper Gore. Jeff B., welcome, welcome. I hope you are well, and I hope you find some of this entertaining and hopefully even a little bit informative. All right. So Dr. Phil is asking the question, and it needs to be addressed. I mean, Dr. Phil is quite right here. You can't decide you're pro-Trump without at least looking at that question.
And let me tell you why the answer to that question is no. because to be a bully, there has to be an imbalance of power.
But I can hear my liberal friends talking now, but he's a billionaire. He's got all of these incredibly powerful friends. He was president for 4 years. He somehow had the power to escape all of these court things. He's got the power, right? Don't bully, he says from the bully pulpit. You are correct. There is an irony to it. You're not wrong. There is an irony to it.
And when there's not, it's just called a debate. And he's just better at it than anybody else. It's called debating. It's called arguing. It's just, it may even name calling, but it's not bullying unless there's an imbalance of power. And whoever he talks to, they've got a microphone, they got on their big boy pants, they got a stage, they got everything else. He's just better at it. And the same thing is true. When the Democrats or Harris call him fascist, Hitler, racist, misogynist, or a crook, is that bullying? Well, not really. It's ugly. But with the First Amendment, which we all want to keep, there's no imbalance of power, so it's not bullying. It's just like when he does. It may not be the best use of energy, but when you attack civilians.
All right. What do you all think about that? Matt, with these people not only think they're bullying for a good purpose, they also think they are better qualified to decide what is good for people than they are to decide for themselves. This, at least, is what I believe to be true.
When you attack a citizen and you use the power of the internet, you use mob mentality, you incite people to gang up and cause boycotts, then it's beyond ugly. And that's what's happening in this country right now, and that's not okay. There is an imbalance of power there, and it's time that every one of us close ranks. We have to stop this now. It's time that we push back against cancel culture. It's time that we push back against intimidation tactics. And that is exactly the reason that I launched Merit Street Media, which, by the way, we didn't choose the name for that by random. Merit Street Media. This country was built on hard work, added value, and talent.
All right, let's see if anyone's talking. I'm proud to be in the basket of deplorables, deplorably free. Yeah, I haven't forgotten that. Deplorably ungovernable. Now, yeah, I'm just going to agree with that. Deplorables have more fun. To my liberal friends who want to say that there's more censorship on the right than on the left, I don't know if you've noticed this from my podcast, but I would have profoundly loved to have been a journalist. Now, I don't want to whine too much, and I don't want to make a bunch of excuses, because there are people who overcame and got what they wanted. And if I had the moral caliber and fabric, I would have as well. But what always kept me from going in to study journalism was I knew that being a conservative in that environment was just not going to be. It not only wasn't going to be easy, it was basically just asking to be a martyr. And so I basically had to make a choice. Do I want to take on an entire industry? Or do I just want to get freaking food on the table and feed my family? Matt Cheatwood does, in fact, have a long memory. That's true. That's true. I don't know that I care to listen to too much of his promoting his network. I mean, it's cool, and I hope it's successful. And if I don't go bankrupt, I will probably look into it. But that's not what I'm here for. So I'm going to skip to 9 minutes and 30 seconds.
You say this in Hollywood, and all of a sudden you ain't got a job. Are you criticizing it? No. But you watch what happens tomorrow morning when people find out I came here to talk to you.
Back it up just a little bit.
And I would love to say it's equal on both sides, but I'll guarantee you, when Beyonce, George Clooney, De Niro, and Lizzo come out and say they're for Kamala Harris, when they all come out and say they're for Kamala Harris, did you read anything or hear anything in the media criticizing it? No. But you watch what happens tomorrow morning when people find out I came here to talk to you.
All right. So let's see what did happen. Let's see how the media is reporting on this. Matt Cheatwood, I've become an independent journalist. That's what you were doing this very instant. And I appreciate that. I'm just doing the best I can. But I appreciate that. You're very, very kind. Jeff B, looking forward to no more political ads on November the 6th. Absolutely. Well, let's stop sharing that and let's look and see how the media is reporting. Let's see if he's made a fair assessment. And I actually was surprised at how centrist it was. We have basically Dr. Phil endorses Donald Trump. Dr. Phil speaks at the rallies, stand up for the people. In speech, Dr. Phil says Donald Trump is not a bully. So it really was a lot more centrist than I expected. Parade fans slammed Dr. Phil for political DEI remarks at the rally. So there it is. It's, like I say, it was more centrist than I expected, but the Madison Square rally itself was just trashed and destroyed. So maybe that's because Dr. Phil has more credibility than Donald Trump. I don't know. I'm welcome to thoughts about it. Keep it down. I can't hear my smoke detector in the kitchen. Hell, Gorilla's Random Thoughts. I am so glad you were here. I hope that you find this mildly entertaining and maybe informative. Matt Cheatwood is looking forward to the crazy news on the 6th. We talked a little bit about that. I'm trepidatious about what's going to happen. I hope that whoever wins by a landslide, but I'm afraid that honestly won't happen. And if there are doubts, that could end up not being great. And hopefully I get to talk about that a little bit more as I go along. Let me skip a little bit further ahead. 1545. And I'll go back to sharing the last. If you want to watch the whole thing, feel free, look it up. It's right out there, but I want to get on to some other stuff, but I wanted to play some of the very last comments that he makes.
It's over in America. We're going to unify this country. We're going to listen and not be intimidated. We're going to go out and lead by example. Let's quit complaining about what is and start doing something about it. If your neighbor wants to vote the other way, say fine, go vote the other way. I'll love you anyway. Let's lead by example. If they want to do it, let them do it. Love them anyway. But as for you, the collective you, I don't want you to just listen and say, nice talk, Dr. Phil. I want you to march in your life. I want you to march with your beliefs. I want you to not.
Oh, there he is being a Nazi. He said he wants you to march. There it is. I'm actually surprised that wasn't reported. I bet if I dig enough, like Vanity or one of those rags probably has said, oh, there it is. It's confirmed. He is a Nazi.
Not be intimidated. Don't be stopped, and don't just vote. Take 5 people with you. Like I said, the difference between winners and losers is winners do things losers don't want to do. And what they do is they take actions toward known outcomes. They deal with the truth. They set goals and they go after them with passion. And it's time for us to bring it home. It's time for us to bring it home. It's time for us to be winners. Winners, winners, winners. I started by telling you I love this country. I'll finish by telling you I love this country, and I love you for loving this country. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.
All right. So what did you think about that? Does he sound like a rabid Nazi? Does he sound like he's crazy? Because every single time someone comes out for Trump, my friends have got to let me know that that person has gone crazy. And frankly, I'm tired of hearing it. They can't all be crazy. I'm sure some of them are. Just statistically, you're going to have some. But I am sick and damn tired of hearing, oh, so-and-so came out for Trump. He's crazy. No, that is insulting. That is condescending to the rest of us. I guess if it's okay that you think it, but maybe we're tired of hearing it. Maybe we're tired of, you have the entire media on your side. You have the force of the government on your side. Why, if we're still saying these things, some of us aren't doing it just because we're crazy. Some of us just actually believe this stuff. And I thought, had the right to say it and talk about it. Matt Chewood, if they try to convince us that the Dems won, things could get really real, very fast. And I've often wanted to talk about, look, let's not, I'm not going to go so far, and I know you don't think this, Matt, but I'm not going to go so far as to say that January 6th was a good thing. I'm not going to say that. And I'm not going to go so far as to say that nobody should be, no one should be held accountable for anything that happened there. But one, I've changed my stance on what happened in the last election, but without meaning to muddy the waters, let's say we are Trump, and let's say we do think that the election was stolen. Wouldn't you make some phone calls? Wouldn't you be at least a little bit tough? If it was Biden, I would hope he would do the same thing if the situation was reversed. We should be fighting for what we think is right. Now, at some point, yeah, we've got to accept that, the election happened, whether there's numbers, whether there's this, whether there's that, Biden's the president, we have to deal with it. But I even back then kind of resented the thought that just because you thought the election was stolen meant you were bad. At that time, I was trying to tell people, hey, look, they may be misinformed. They're not bad people. They're reacting the way you would if you thought that the election had been stolen from you. Guerrillas Random Thoughts, we need to swamp the vote. Even if you know your person isn't going to win, need to send the message. Yeah, agreed. And that's for Kamala people as well. I my stance, but I don't want to be guilty of doing what I'm accusing the other side of doing. I don't want to intimidate anyone. Yeah, you're voting for Kamala. Don't go to the polls. You suck. No, that ain't cool either. I disagree. I disagree vehemently with people who are pro Kamala, but by God, they have the right to vote the way they want, and they have the right to speak about it. Jeff B, hope we don't have fiery but mostly peaceful protests after this is over. Yeah, and that's just it. As long as they remain peaceful, I'm cool with peaceful protest, 100%. But diving into violence, I don't know. I don't know. Jeff B, I don't see any way there isn't at least a few mostly peaceful protests. Kapla, Gorilla, everyone saying hello to each other. Gorilla's random thoughts. Of course he does. He's at a Trump rally. Matt Cheatwood, it's an ancient internet adage. The first one to call their opponent Hitler has lost the argument. Ooh, yeah. I tend to agree with that. And don't get me wrong, I've seen plenty of right wingers talk about Kamala being Hitler. It's not cool the other way either. I know that knee jerk reaction. Well, they called us that first. Still, you have to be better than that. There's a lot of things I don't like about her and her policies. And I could probably go down a rabbit hole of how it's dangerous, but I'm not going to, there's a difference between Kamala and Hitler. Let's just be intellectually honest here. I remember a crap load of D's claiming the 2016 vote was stolen. Yeah, and they thought that 2001 was stolen. And I don't know how many of you remember, but there were years of riots after 2016. For some reason, that's okay. January 6th is wrong. And again, I don't want to go so far as to say, well, it is okay after all. But you got to be intellectually honest. If January 6th was bad, so were the riots on the other side. Kamala voters' voting date is the 6th. Right on. Although objectively, Barney was Hitler. Gorilla's random thoughts. They have claimed it's stolen all the way back to the 80s. I remember them saying a lot of hateful things about Reagan. I remember Reagan being compared to Hitler. And for some reason, we're never supposed to be upset about it. This, by the way, is the tactic of the codependent, the person with borderline personality disorder. We're going to accuse you, we're going to insult you over and over and over again. But then as soon as you do take umbrage, well, you're the bad person. And the trick is somehow being able to call them out without losing your cool. And that's a hard one to do. They apparently do not understand how the Electoral College works. I know most of my liberal friends don't like the Electoral College. And it probably sounds disingenuous because that's basically how Trump won, at least the first time, was Electoral College. But after reading the Federalist Papers, I'm convinced that just a straight popular vote for the presidency actually is not cool. Not unless we're going to somehow do something else to give the states more balance of power in their direction. Because frankly, if it's just a popular vote, there's no point in small states even existing. We might as well just carve everything up into 5 or 8 or 10 equally populous districts and reapportion the whole thing. And I'm sure that's something that they'd actually kind of like to do. DJ Ronnie G, howdy. I hope that life is finding you well. Thank you for coming on here. Hope some of this is entertaining and or informative to you. Matt Cheatwood, I think it's safe to say the polarization of the parties now includes gender as well as all the other categories. Democrats have become the party of women. Republicans are the party of men. Yeah, and I kind of hate that. I don't know what to do about it, but I kind of hate that. Look how the polls skew when sorted by gender. All right, let's take a look at let's take a look at how The View reacted with Trump, because that's actually part of what I had been going to share anyway. Not so much this video, but the interview between Joe Rogan and Trump. I wanted to talk about that a little bit. Okay, so
Donald Trump.
I know Whoopi Goldberg has vociferously repudiated what was said on the Joe Rogan interview. I will admit that while my copy here is kind of grainy, she doesn't look very happy. So I'll give her that.
Is a billionaire, a real estate mogul, and a television star. But does he really want to add president of the United States to his resume? A lot of people would like him to. Please, let's find out, and please welcome my friend, Donald Trump. We're so happy to have you.
Okay, I have to bring this up. I have to. Not Oprah. Why do I always get them mixed up anymore? What's her head? Whoopi Goldberg insists that she did not hug and kiss Trump. And I guess very technically that's true, but what did that look like to you? She allowed him to at least kind of give her a thinnish, arm thing and a kiss on the cheek. He hugged and kissed the rest of them. I kind of think his view of it's validated right there. Gorilla's Random Thoughts. Screw you, YouTube. What did they do? Abolish the entire government. Hoo-ah, Gorilla's Random Thoughts. Lady Mist. Never watched The View. I don't care what celebs think. Just if they can act the part in the movie or show well. I agree with that. It is very blurry. That might be my my connection. Hello, Frosty B Rocks. Howdy. I hope you're doing well, and I hope you find some of this vaguely informative and hopefully entertaining. Babwa Wawa gave that show some legitimacy. Yeah, and we don't have any caliber of journalism anymore. She came around in the day when you did have to be objective, and people talk about, how hard women have it now. And I don't want to completely poo-poo that, but I don't think any of those people had even half the battle that Barbara Walters had to climb up through the man thing. I respect the hell out of her. I don't always agree with everything she's done or said, but I respect the hell out of her. Yeah, of course they censored that. I hate that. You can click the gear cogwheel icon to change the quality. The cogwheel. Rock the cogwheel. Rock the cogwheel. All right, let's change quality a little bit. No, that didn't help. Quality. All right. Let's go for the gusto. This is about as good as it's going to get, though, I'm afraid. So I am going to skip ahead just a bit.
Resonate so much. On the other hand, we saw Newt Gingrich apologizing for his marriages and divorces. You've had 3 marriages, 2 sort of uncomfortable divorces. Do you think that
not really. They were very comfortable.
Well, we won't leave you wrong. Do you think that the country, that would bother anybody?
I think the country is doing so badly, they want somebody that's going to help it. I think the country is never been in a position like it is right now. It's being ripped off by every nation, every intelligent nation in the world, whether it's China. They're taking our jobs, they're making all our product, and then they loan us back the money, we pay them interest.
That is
whether
crazy.
It's OPEC, which is, they're having a field day right now. How about the Arab League?
Okay, I am going to skip ahead a little bit just because mainly I just wanted to share the point that they're so intent on saying, no, we weren't friends with him. They look pretty cozy to me. Oh, it's blurry on yours too. Okay, Matt, I understand. Gorillas Random Thoughts. Now that I got you put on at least 10 watch lists, I got to head out. I'll watch the whole stream tomorrow. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And I have a list of the lists I am on. I am, however, I'm not going to skip all the way, but I want to, because Whoopi insists that she called him out at the end of the interview. So let's see if she did, and she may have. I'm just trying to see, who's right on this thing.
AIDS research and lots of great charities. Or am I going to sit home, watch television, and not give anything? And I decided to sit. And I was actually happy with it. I was happy with how well it did. It was their most successful show.
No, what do you think about the situation
Tell
there?
me, how did it feel like when they really attack you? They do a hair
They
joke.
really
or
are.
whatever?
Well, the hair I'm used to. Excuse me, you attack my hair all the time. I got used to. You were worse than they were.
I stopped.
No, you were worse than they
Do
were.
you mind when people attack your hair?
No.
Is
I
there
don't.
any? Is
And
there
you know what,
anything?
Barbara? You know what? Look,
It's real.
It's really mine. You
Is
know,
there
it's like
anything? Go, baby.
Boy, couldn't get away with that now.
Throw a few things together over the years.
she is very sexy. I want to tell you.
He knows how to get to me. Is there
Your
anything?
daughter was
Is there
in the
anything
audience.
that you are insecure about?
That you want to say on TV.
I don't want to say. I probably do. I don't want to give it up. Let somebody figure it out someday.
That's right.
Right?
The answer is no.
I hate,
Don't give ammunition to
on
the
television,
enemy.
the reason we don't have the big stars like they used to with Clark Gable and all, Clark Gable didn't go on like your show and say, I'm an alcoholic, I'm this.
Yeah.
Now they get on, they cry, they're alcoholics, they're this, they're drug addicts.
Somebody tried to call him out a little bit, but they got silenced by the other three. I find it very encouraging. Trump's position has not changed in all these years after decades of politicians waffling every cycle. Yeah, I mean, whether you agree with him or disagree with him, I would challenge anyone to say that he's waffled on many positions. Maybe there's something somewhere that he has, but
And you say, they're just like everyone else. So if I do have an insecurity, I'm not talking.
Listen, Dana, so far, there's nothing you haven't been successful at. You're a great character. You're a great friend of ours. We don't know whether you should be president, but we do know that you will enjoy watching.
But you do admit
The
I'd be a great
Apprentice.
president.
You have possible.
Barbara, don't blow it.
So, the Celebrity Apprentice. You want to say something else besides that?
But I
No.
don't think you're a real Republican.
No, I'm a real Republican.
I think you're.
The Apprentice is Sunday nights.
With
Check your local listings. He's always wonderful to watch. We'll be right back.
all right. It sure seemed like a love fest to me. Now, Whoopi, yeah, she does seem pretty cold and stiff and distant, but the rest of them were pretty warm toward him. So, yeah, the COVID-19 jabs. Not sure. John Ponterero, no worries. I'm enjoying the stream. Good. Okay, very good. So, what do I want to play with next? I think I will go ahead and dive into the interview because, frankly, I probably don't have time to do much more than that anyway, which I kind of hate. But let's see what he has said on the Joe Rogan Experience. The criticisms I do have of him is I don't think he appointed really good people around himself. Matt Shewood hasn't seen any of the interview, and I watched a little more than half. Yeah, I made sure to watch the whole thing because I wanted to. I definitely wanted to share what was being said. Something about Joe Rogan that maybe people don't understand. He's actually a classical liberal. It baffles me that he's been lumped in with right wingers. When well, Matt, you were the one that introduced me to the topic of Göbekli Tepe, And one of the researches that I did for Goblecki Tepe was listening to the Joe Rogan podcast. And they talk about Trump had just won and, oh my gosh, it's a big, horrible thing and it's scary. He thought the same way a lot of us thought. Now he has come over, maybe not necessarily to Trump's side, but he definitely respects the pro-Trump side. And I think it's interesting, resented for that. Matt Cheatwood, most people have already been corrupted by the system before the system lets them into the office. Frosty B. Rocks, he ran on draining the swamp and made it worse. Well, he didn't make it any better, I would argue. Still going to vote for the guy, but I'm just going to say I don't feel like he made it any better. Matt Cheatwood, I'm not sure he made it worse. I think he made it more visible. Yeah, I would agree with that. I don't know that he improved it. And I know a lot of my conservative friends, well, yeah, but he couldn't. And maybe that's true. But that has been and still is my big criticism of him is, he surrounded himself with the very people who ended up betraying him. And, I know I probably wouldn't have done any better, but then again, that's why. What I like about this interview is that it humanizes Trump. What I don't like about it is sometimes I wish he would not ramble quite so much. Abolish the alphabet. Yes, 100%. 100%. He admits to that in the interview. He had to depend on advice because it was so new. Frosty B. Rocks. Presidents are selected, not elected. FDR. Yeah. And I think maybe you would agree with this, maybe you don't, but I think that is really the thing that Trump has exposed, whether he meant to or not. They're not elected. It's one of the reasons why I don't understand. I don't see the point in getting rid of the Electoral College, because at the end of the day, all that really does is removes one cog. They're still selected. The powers that be, whoever the hell they are, I would suggest at least since Woodrow Wilson, probably even before, they've already handpicked who's going to be the nominee in both parties. So whichever one wins, they've got their man. Presidents are seen as temporary employees of the state. They aren't given access to classified information. Zion Dawn ain't a shot caller. It's the weave, right? Kamala wasn't even democratically nominated. No, agreed. That's one of the reasons why I'm upset about a lot of this crap. Gonna skip ahead. 2442. I tried to pick a few points so that we're not just listening to this interview, although I don't know that I'm going to get much more done than listening to it. Here in about 10 minutes, I'm going to go to X and share some of the things that I've seen on there. So sadly, I'm kind of doing a rush job. The poll says right now it's more election coverage. So what I don't get covered today, I will probably talk about on Thursday if the poll continues to go that way. All right. We are on 2437. And then they want to wonder why I don't appreciate their sources. Sad but true, Matt. Yeah, I learned yesterday the parties there, they don't actually have to have a primary. The party can decide to appoint whoever they want. That's that. They were talking about it on a generational change. Okay. She ran for office in Florida. Yeah, I know there's a lot of hijinks that go on behind the scenes with the parties. And there always have been, but I just feel like it's gotten really out of hand. Stephen Keller, hello. Welcome to the channel. I hope you are doing well, and I hope that some of this is informative and maybe even entertaining to you. Stephen Keller, this is a far cry from many of the streams regarding politics. Loving this man. Nice. Thank you. You're very kind. You're very kind. And again, I have my stance, I have my bias, but I want this channel to be open to everybody except for literal neo-Nazis. But anybody should be able to come here and respectfully give their opinion. Welcome to the madhouse. Yes. Yeah, Matt Cheatwood, there were 3 attempts, although I think they're discounting the third one. I need to do more research on that, but there's evidently controversy about whether or not the guy was really trying to assassinate Trump. Stephen Keller, thank you very much. Welcome. Sashi, the man from the future, who never shares the winning lottery ticket. We are shaking our fists today at the establishment for saying that we are supporters of Nazism and fascism. And I'm just trying to say it's blatantly not true. And I'm kind of just tired of hearing about that. But here I am trying to talk about it. I'm going to skip ahead to an hour 18 and 35. I'm sorry I'm rushing through this so much. Hour and 18:35. One of the things I love about Joe Rogan is he's usually very human. I've rarely ever heard him do an interview and thought, you were really mean to that person. Actually, only once did I feel like he was a little less than respectful to someone. Not that I've listened to a ton of his stuff, but I've probably listened to 10 or 12 or 15 of his interviews.
I knew it was wrong because I had a rally. I had 29,000 people at a racetrack, and it was like 0 degrees, Wisconsin.
Okay, here he's talking about, I finally do know someone, one of the followers here in the community shared with me on a text that he had finally been called by a poll. And here's the deal. When it comes to the quote unquote stolen election, I have 1 or 2 of my liberal friends who are at least willing to be, they humor me. You know, they let me talk about it, but I can tell in their hearts they think that there's no basis whatsoever for there having been a stolen election 4 years ago. I don't want to dive into it right now, but what I want to get across to people is the people who believe that, not all, but a lot of them were good, intelligent, wonderful people that they just honestly did believe that it was stolen. And if the election's stolen, then how are you supposed to react to that? And nobody ever gives me anything other than, well, you know, that's right. The last guy was a sovereign citizen nut job. Frosty B. Rocks, there's many red flags. They were there before he was ever in the first time. Yeah, agreed. So just the Iranian plot and the Lee Tardy Oswald kid. One of the things that it's a little tense with one of my friends because he insists on saying that these were 2 hardcore right wingers, and I know that that's what's reported, but I find that difficult to believe because, frankly, there's just so many inconsistencies in the narratives that were given, and we did talk about that over the weekend. That there's just enough inconsistencies that, quote unquote, the conspiracy theorists have something to talk about. Well, but I would go even further than that, my friend. I would say that it might be justified to at least entertain the thought. I'm not saying you have to embrace it or believe it, but I think there's enough inconsistencies in the stories that we should be intellectually honest and say, hey, look, the story doesn't line up. What the hell is it really? Sashi will never be called by a pollster. Shaking my fist towards my hate towards the media. Sick of that ruling my emotions at times. Till now, unseen vitriol coming from the mainstream. It's unparalleled. I would agree with that. I would agree with that. And again, we have to be careful not to descend into hate ourselves. This is where I was. This is one of the reasons why I came out so hard against my liberal friends after the assassination attempt, because I realized at that moment that I had allowed hate to rule me too much. And those bullets flying, that, you can say whatever you want. Well, as a hardcore right winger, maybe. But at the end of the day, generally hate or sleazy politics is what's causing bullets to fly. And unless that's what we want, unless we want to be a banana republic, we've got to back off from the hate. We just have to. Lady Miss, Kamala Harris' undemocratic rise is not a first. Gerald Ford, yeah, you have a great point, and an absolutely valid one. Gerald Ford was also. So, yeah, we shouldn't. Again, I'm taking a pro-Trump stance, and I have my right-wing / Republican bias. But having said that, we have to be intellectually honest. Gerald Ford also was undemocratically chosen. Nobody voted for him. Until 1968, presidential candidates were picked by party conventions, a process revived by Biden's withdrawal from the race. I'm not sure I understand your thinking there, but please go ahead and let me know what your shake away, Stephen Keller. The only poll that matters will be November 5th. Matt Cheatwood, damn right at Jeff B. Let's hope we don't see too many more burnt ballot boxes, which I wanted to get around to talking to. The Lee Tardy Oswald kid was hard left. And look, I suspect you're right, but I have a friend in Oklahoma City who is respectful, but he is quite adamant that no, that's not so. This guy was a hardcore right winger. I have no idea. One, I have no idea how to convince him, and two, I don't know if it even matters. I've got bigger fish to fry. But hail and good evening, John. I hope all's well. Yeah, John has been busy, but he's been busy in a good way. Frosty B. Ronks calls BS on it all. Smells more like setups and theater than actual reality. Yeah, I get that. Matt Cheatwood, I've seen his social media posts. I need to look into that someday. People saying hello. Stephen Keller, Biden's Philadelphia speech sure felt like an attack. John is doing well. Matt Cheatwood, I think you're as much libertarian as you are Republican. Yeah, I would own that. And on D. Johnny G agrees. We will pick up this later. I want to finish very quickly with at least one thing that I've seen on X. I do not know this gentleman, but I found his post very interesting and informative, and it's kind of long, so I don't know if we'll get all the way through it, because I want to give you guys time to get to Sparkwood and 21. But Jeffrey A. Tucker, like many others, including J.D. Vance, I'm very much on record in warning about Donald Trump from 2015 onward, and in my case, it was from 2020 onward, including articles and an entire book, which is still valuable, I guess, on the rightist version of collectivism. And I've written quite a bit in my blog about my criticisms of the right after January 6th. Sashi of the future in the 21st and a half century. As we approach election day, my opinions, and this is this guy's, not mine, but some of the things he says resonates. My opinions have undergone a shift, particularly in the last 3 years, watching as Biden-Harris marshaled a massive ruling class propaganda and compulsion machine to push everything I oppose the most. State consolidation, corporatism, censorship, inflationism, central planning, and compulsory injections of experimental medical products. It all seems surreal to me. I think back to what worried me the most about Trump: demagogic nationalism, nativistic protectionism, executive centralization, and the leadership cult. Features of his last term confirmed my worst fears, particularly his green lighting of lockdowns for COVID and disregard for religious and personal freedom in the period. He also has a terrible record on spending, mitigated in part by solid efforts toward deregulation and higher quality picks on the bench. So this guy was never intentionally unfair. Doesn't sound like it. Tucker, formerly of the Mises Institute. Oh, really? Okay. I knew I liked this guy for some reason. To my amazement, when Trump realized he was wrong on COVID controls and began to argue for opening up again, he was denounced by the whole of the political opposition. Then, once he was out of office, everything became vastly worse, including mask mandates, forced closures, and finally the unconscionable forced shots that have not only killed and wounded many, but demoralized and subjugated the population in ways that can only be compared with wartime conscription. As regards Trump himself, while we've seen emerge since then as a changed man in many ways, or at least so it seems, he has new appreciation for the wicked power of the deep state and the toxicity of lawfare, of which he is a main victim. The kinds of people he has gathered around him, including RFK Jr. and Elon, is also encouraging. Most of you know, Kennedy was my man. He was the one I was going to vote for. DJ Ronnie G, don't care much about spending, but I'm not about to go through there right now. Yeah, I understand that. As for Jeff Tucker, it's people like him who turned me off to libertarianism. Okay, well, I didn't know the guy, so my bad if I picked somebody horrible. As an individualist, I know that is illogical on my part. Okay, well, we all have something illogical in our makeup. Okay, he's being nuanced and reasonable. Yeah, that's why I'm hoping to get it read in the next couple minutes. At the same time, I've changed too on many topics on which I thought I had settled opinions. On nationalism, I had never imagined the conditions in which that impulse would favor rather than oppose liberty and amount to a form of decentralization from what is called globalism. The COVID response was largely dictated by the World Health Organization, which is mostly funded privately as a corporatist racket pushing pharmaceutical products. This is why the COVID responses were the same the world over, but for 3 nations. Even the CDC claimed to defer. That's just the start of it. It's true for censorship and financial power too. Both are global initiatives pushed by corporate elites, as we see in Europe. The treatment of Elon Musk for daring to permit speech is indicative. They really want to turn the internet into a curated information machine controlled only by stakeholders. I'm not making this up. This is what they say. Indeed, the problem is even deeper. There is a machine being built globally that necessarily disenfranchises voters the world over. Once they have power, democracy is at an effective end, which means that citizens no longer have any possibility of influencing the shape of the regime under which they live. On the matter of immigration, I never imagined that I lived under a regime that would deploy the free movement of peoples as a weapon of vote manipulation and power consolidation. Voters in the United Kingdom saw it, and Murray Rothbard saw it as a possibility as early as 1993, but I couldn't imagine it. I was wrong. It became a reality. The liberal and broad-minded impulse to welcome strangers has become weaponized as a vote-getting scheme operated at taxpayer expense. This has nothing to do with freedom and everything to do with the aspiration for a one-party state and premeditated demographic upheaval to break up opposition. to state consolidation. On matters of trade, I'm with Rand Paul in opposing tariffs as industrial protection, but that said, the loss of domestic manufacturing is driven in part by a bad monetary system that broke all monetary settlement mechanisms that had smooth trade in the 19th century and replaced it with a one-way industrial policy that came at the expense of the citizenry. I'm going to skip down to the very end. The number one shift I've undergone in my thinking concerns the source of the real problem in the U.S. It is not the politicians elected by the voters as such, but the permanent state structures that exist on three levels: shallow, middle, and deep. The consciousness of this is as new as it is ominous. The deep state refers to the intelligence community, which very obviously exercises massive power, not only internationally, but domestically as well. I'm not sure I was fully aware of that. The middle state is the civilian bureaucracy, some 2 million strong, plus 400 agencies that imagine that they are the real and permanent rulers of America. The shallow state is the retail end of this machine, the media, the medical systems, the tech companies, and the corporate structure itself, whether it controls advertising or philanthropy or banking or financial markets. The corruption is deep and wide. There is only one way to break up this wicked cartel. With executive, legislative, and judicial action, the Trump forces have a beat on this, in part because his last term was utterly foiled by this machinery. We've never had an incoming administration so finely focused on the real problems and floating real solutions to actually save freedom in this generation from utter destruction. Of course, it might not go well. Usually politics betrays us, but this much I know: we cannot endure 4 more years of whether things are headed now. Everything we love is being lost. Most Americans have a simple demand. We want our lives back. It's that simple. We don't even need to take recourse to far-flung ideological precepts to understand it. We need only draw on moral intuition and what we remember, if we can, of what normal life should be like. So I hope y'all liked that as much as I did. DJ Ronnie G, stream of consciousness. Right on, Matt Chewood. We need to get a presidential reorganizational authority passed by Congress so the president can abolish every alphabet agency. Oh, wow. Let's see what that looks like. GAO.gov. No, I don't want to do that. I want to click on the link. The President's Reorganization Authority. I'm going to take a gander at that and probably talk about it in the next one. There can be no free market when the government regulates business. Hail, Darth Plato. We're almost done. I'm desperately trying to give you guys time to go to Sparkwood in 21. And after I've depressed you with all the political crap, you can wind down by watching the very last episode of Twin Peaks. I can only hope that Elon gets some say in things after the election. I am hoping for that as well. All right. Let's call it a stream. First, I will take a look at the poll. I'm going to, oh, wow. It's tied. So 40% are saying more election coverage, 40% chill stream makeup as you go, 13% wanted me to talk more about capitalism versus the economist, so-called. I want to say his name is William. I always forget his first name, but his last name is Reich. And only probably 6%, not many people want to hear any more about Fauci and COVID. So that's cool. Cool. So I will probably kind of do a mix and match. I will try to finish up the things that I couldn't talk about in this stream. And also I will talk some more about the two federations from the two works of fiction. I love that video. The USA is an alphabet body. Interesting point. All right, let's call it a stream. I will end with the song. Link to Sparkwood and 21 pinned to the top. So if I don't get through all of it, please feel free to go there. But I'm going to thank everybody. John Ponderero, thank you so much. Thank you very much. Matt Cheatwood, always very informative. Bluff Chick Productions, Connie Cleary, faithful birdwoman of YouTube, one of the great moderators. Thank you for being here. And who else? Tim, thank you for showing up and for leaving a comment. Very kind. Lady Miss, thank you very much for your kindness. You are also one of the great moderators. Smooth moderator. Smooth moderator. Jeff B, thank you for showing up and for your comments. We are part of the basket of deplorables. Gorilla's Random Thoughts, thank you for showing up and leaving a comment. Check this gentleman out. He's so close to having the watch hours he needs to monetize. So maybe check out a video or two of his, or go see one of his streams where he watches the Waltons, which was a great show from the 70s, back when I was a kid. Boom, boom, boom. DJ Ronnie G, thank you for showing up and for your kind comments. Always add thought-provoking things to the commentary. Frosty B Rocks, thank you for showing up. Thank you for your feistiness. We need to, it is good that you remind us that we've got to be careful. You really can't trust either side. Right, have I got, no, I had almost skipped Stephen Keller. That would have been terrible. Thank you, welcome aboard. I hope you liked what you listened to. Absolutely, please feel free to at least consider subscribing, or maybe listen to a video or two and decide what you think after that. Thank you very much, sir. Sashi the Man from the Future, thank you for showing up and for your kind comments. I love the things that you teach us about Malaysia. Learn a lot from having you around in the community. Steve Keller, yeah, we're all I think most of us are upset with the media. We just wish they'd go back to reporting the news and not trying to tell us what to think. Darth Plato, thank you very much for showing up and for your kind comments. And yes, it is an odd and ironic truth. The USA is an alphabet body. The music is back. Good night, folks. Lots of fun. Thank you very much. I'm glad you enjoyed the stream. Hard to believe the Waltons are all billionaires now. Yeah, true. I'm going to call it a stream. I hope to see most of you at Sparkwood and 21, where we're going to watch the very last episode of Twin Peaks. I ran long, so I'm not going to give my usual spiel, but I am going to at least say that know that you are not going crazy. You're going sane in a world gone mad. You want me to do the thing? Okay, I'll do the thing. I'll do the whole thing. It'll make us late, but that's okay. You gotta think about your audience. Try to give them what they want, and try to always leave them wanting more. My spiel. I know Stephen Keller here has never heard it, or likely has never heard it, but my spiel is that it has been said that life is pain, and that anyone telling you otherwise is just trying to sell you something. I, in fact, am trying to sell you something. I'm trying to sell you on the idea that freedom is better than tyranny, that liberty is better than slavery, that you are in fact smart enough and wise enough to run your own life. You do not need big corporations or a big government telling you what to think or what to say or how to live. And then lastly of all, as I said before, you're not going mad, although people may be trying to convince you that you are. You're going sane in a world going mad. Thank you very much. I will see all of you, or many of you, hopefully shortly.